All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use in 5. I am Tina Baxter, your host, and I wanted to say this is going to be a great day on February the 12th, 2025. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I apologize as I'm rumbling around, but I just realized I forgot to grab our inspiration for today, so I did find it. So here we are. Ah, This is from the You Are a Badass calendar, new and favorite inspirations by Jen Sincero for 2025. And I love this one. It says, discipline is a muscle. You have to build it at your own pace. Set honest goals. If you bite off more than you can chew at the start, chances are excellent you'll get discouraged and give up altogether. So remember, exercise that muscle called discipline. All right, let's go ahead and get into it because there is a lot of news to cover today. Whew, and there was just so much more that I wanted to bring you, but we just don't have the time. So we're going to be hitting the highlights today because there's, again, a lot to cover. So let's first our story coming from Labor News, Labor Notes. This is Oregon nurses reject proposal, keep striking. Nurses across Oregon remain on strike at Providence Health and Services more than a month after they first walked out. Members at all 8 hospitals rejected a tentative agreement by more than 80% when it was put to a vote in early February. The union says the hospital continues to bargain in bad faith and has not made enough movement on the workers' priorities. We all voted it down, and I hope that sent a pretty clear message to Providence, said Carolyn Allison, a nurse at Providence Medford. She said lack of movement on improving nurses' health care plan was a big concern. The Oregon Nurses Association has backed a new state legislation that would require hospitals that receive public funds to disclose how much they are spending on replacement workers during labor disputes. To increase pressure on the company, O&A planned to pack a public hearing on the bill February 10th. They're spending buckets of money on these replacements, but they could be spending that money instead on settling our contract, said Richard Botterill, a nurse at Providence in Portland. In addition to the nurses at the hospitals, doctors, nurse practitioners, and other hospitalists at Providence St. Vincent have also been on strike to win a first contract. They voted to approve a tentative agreement that includes strong subcontracting language and improves compensation. However, these providers are not back to work yet because Providence included language in the deal that allowed them to continue honoring the picket line if St. Vincent's nurses were still on strike. Members of this unit were surprised this language was included, but glad to have it. Some hospitalists speculated that their employer included the language because it hoped to pressure the nurses into accepting the deal. It didn't work. We want to stand in solidarity with our nurses, said nurse practitioner Jeremiah Wright. So please check on into this on Labor Notes and you can get more information about this ongoing strike. But I'm hoping that it is resolved soon and that all sides win in this. All right, let's get on to our next story. Okay, this is one of those don't do this stories. I bring these stories up not because I want to vilify the people that are involved or to vilify the industry in which it's involved, but it continues to happen. And I bring these things up as a teaching moment because as we have so many young people who have grown up with social media, they're constantly on their phones, letting their whole life be recorded to be seen. You have to be careful what you do, and not everything is funny and not everything should be recorded. So first of all, I want to say I hope that these family members do get closure on this incident, but I'm also hoping that the young lady involved in this has truly learned, and it sounds like she has, and maybe this could be a cautionary tale so that this does not happen again. So I do want to issue a trigger warning here. This stories coming up do contain some sensitive information that I will try to speak of as best as I can for the algorithm. But anyway, here we go. So this is from the Oklahoman. And it says degrading Snapchat photos of Oklahoma nursing home patients gets former aide 12-year prison sentence. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because I train CNAs and home health aides, and I want them to know that these things are not funny. This will get you into trouble. This is not what you want to do. So here we have a former nursing home worker has been sentenced to 12 years for sending degrading photos and videos of elderly residents on the instant messaging app Snapchat. Jade Marie Williams, 21, of Oklahoma City, pleaded guilty in November to elder abuse and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. She had worked at the Golden Age Nursing Home in Guthrie from July of 2022 to last April. One of the videos mocked a resident who was lying unalived in bed with her mouth open, Guthrie police reported. Other videos showed residents on the toilet or unclothed in bed. A new Logan County District Judge, Jason Reese, imposed a punishment on the felony case after commenting that the basic duty of society is caring for the young and the elderly. The abuse was extensive, the judge said. The judge was told Williams sent degrading photos and videos of residents 66 times. Assistant District Attorney Matthew Adams said the offenses involved 15 residents. The prosecutor said Williams and two other workers preyed upon the victims for their own twisted amusement. He said Williams' morbid actions had denied the victims the right to live out their lives with dignity. And this is where I'm bringing this up, because a lot of young people don't think about these things. Now, allegedly, she was trying to share this with her friends. This is what she's saying. She was trying to share this with just her friends, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't do these things. And I know for some people, they're like, oh, no one would ever think to do that. Yeah. When you've got viral videos of people posting everything online, this becomes a problem. And they're thinking, oh, well, it's Snapchat. It's going to go away. What you do on the internet lasts forever. Please remember that. So be very careful what you post. So we're going to go on. In court Tuesday, Williams blamed a drug addiction, substance addiction and alcohol for her behavior. She says she loved the residents and prayed they will forgive her. I regret it, she said. I feel terrible. I cry myself to sleep. It's the only thing I think about. And I imagine she'll probably think about that for the next 12 years. In a written statement for a pre-sentence report, she also blamed a dark sense of humor. And this is another thing we in healthcare, we're known to have a dark sense of humor. You know, there is a thing called those gallows humor that we have. This is very different from sharing a story, posting something anonymously on a thread without pictures and mentioning names and HIPAA and all this kind of stuff, which, by the way, this is clearly HIPAA violations and things like that. But having a dark sense of humor doesn't give you the right to make fun of people. And I think this is where a lot of people forget that you're dealing with human beings in their lives. So she says, the videos that were taken, I would sometimes send to the two other people in this case because I figured if it's funny to me, it'll be funny to them. And I have to say, not everything that's funny to you, ma'am, will be funny to other people. And I don't think it was funny to the residents who were exposed in this way. In addition to overindulging in substances C, E, X, and F, she was also using A. She appeared in court in orange jail clothes, her wrist chained to her waist. She wept at times she would get credit toward her sentence for her time in jail. The prosecutor had asked for a sentence of 10 years in prison and 10 years on probation. Her defense attorney had asked for only probation. The judge put Williams on probation for 8 years after she completes her prison time. He fined her $2,000 and ordered her to complete 300 hours of community service. She'll also have to pay $500 to the state's Victims' Compensation Fund and other costs. The Guthrie police began an investigation after a former worker reported getting from Williams a Snapchat video of a resident. Williams was charged with elder abuse and conspiracy in June in Logan County District Court. Also charged in June with elder abuse and conspiracy were two other former nursing home employees, Aubrey Madison Granada, 21, and Mackenzie Blairy Bolfa of 20. Now, this is another thing. These ages, 20, 21. And I am not excusing them because of their age, but then I also know that a lot of young people sometimes don't think things through. So Granada and Bolfa have both pleaded not guilty and are free on bond. So you have someone sending you stuff like this from your coworkers and your kiki and all this kind of stuff. Know that you become complicit in this. Okay. So all three were accused of taking photos and videos of themselves and residents in a degrading manner and then disseminating the photos and videos amongst themselves. The good news is the photos and videos were never posted on any social media platforms. In a statement to the media last year, the nursing home said its employees are subject to background checks and receive training about patients' rights and safety. At Go Nation Nursing Home, our priority and passion is to create a safe and loving community where our residents can thrive. And so, again, you want to read more about this, you can. But I'm saying this because as I train home health aides and CNAs, no, we have this conversation. One of the reasons why we don't allow them to have their cell phones on them, we lock them up. If you're one of our students, we lock your cell phones up for just this reason. Not that I would say any of my students would do that, but I don't want any of my students to be accused of doing that either. And so there's one of the reasons why we do those things. You get them at the end of your shift, you got an emergency, they give your family member our number. We'll get a hold of you. Our faculty is always with you. So there's reasons for that. And I know a lot of, because there's a TikTok a while ago of a nursing student that was upset because the instructor sent her home for being on her phone and she wanted to have her phone because she got children at home. I understand all those reasons. But in this day and age, you have to be careful. So I said that as a cautionary tale. Let's keep moving on because we got a lot to cover. Here's our next story. Sorry, Florida. Didn't make this up, but it's from nurse.org. It says Florida ranks dead last in NCLEX nursing exam pass rates. Florida's nursing education system needs help. As recent data reveals, the state is struggling with the national licensing exam pass rates. Despite modest improvements, Florida continues to rank last among all 50 states for the first-time pass rates on the National Council Licensure Examination, or NCLEX, for both registered nurses and practical nurses in 2024. Florida's first-time NCLEX RN pass rate was 84.9% in 2024, 6.3 percentage points below the national average of 91.2%. For NCLEX PN test takers, Florida's first-time pass rate was 80.8% versus the national average of 88.4%. These figures place Florida 50th out of 50 of the United States and 52nd among all 55 jurisdictions that administer the exam for both RN and PM exam rates. While these statistics are concerning, Florida has shown some improvement compared to previous years. The state managed to narrow the gap between its pass rates and the national average. Several factors may be contributing to Florida's low NCLEX pass rates. Student demographics. Florida has a diverse student population, may face unique challenges, including language barriers and other varying educational backgrounds, educational quality and preparedness. The quality of nursing education programs and their ability to adequately prepare students for the rigors of the NCLEX may be a significant factor. Program accreditation. The accreditation status of nursing programs in Florida may play a role in student outcomes and exam preparedness, test anxiety and preparation. The high-stakes nature of the NCLEX can lead to increased anxiety among test takers, potentially impacting performance. And it could also be, the fact that some of them didn't actually go to school. Florida was the hotbed of the Nightingale scandal, where two schools were allegedly selling fake diplomas so that nurses could take the NCLEX. So there's several implications for Florida, including um, the nursing shortage continues to be an issue, economic impact, quality of care, and reputation of the nursing programs, which is already taking a hit. So if you want to hear more about that, head on over to nurse.org and you can check that out. And then you can also see where your school or your state has ranked as well. All right. Here's our next story. This is from Healthcare Dive. Large healthcare companies are redistributing most of their profits to shareholders, a study finds. Shareholder payouts from large publicly traded healthcare companies jumped more than 3 times between 2001 and 2022, suggesting healthcare companies may be prioritizing rewarding shareholders over reinvesting income into improving patient care. Over those 2 decades, shareholder payouts increased 315% from 54 billion in 2001 to 170.2 billion in 2022. The study published Monday in JAMA Internal Medicine found in total shareholder payouts over that time frame reached 2.6 trillion. Overall, the healthcare industry allocated 95% of aggregate net income to shareholder payouts, while in 3 subsectors, healthcare facilities, distributors, and pharmaceuticals, shareholder payouts actually exceeded net income. It's not only clear what companies do with their profits, but the new research suggests that large publicly traded healthcare companies are funneling the majority of their income back to their investors on Wall Street instead of reinvesting proceeds in drug development, medical care, or other areas that could improve the cost of access to healthcare for U.S. patients. Publicly held corporations have their own ownership distributed among the public in the form of shares on stock exchanges. The companies frequently repay capital to shareholders through direct payments called dividends or through buying back their own shares, which increases the value of the remaining shares. A research team from Yale University was interested in analyzing those payouts in light of rising costs for patients and given the fact that the government funds a majority of healthcare services in the U.S. To do so, they examined the data from Refinitiv Workspace, which provides historical information on stock market indexes on companies on the S&P 500 Healthcare Index, which represents the largest publicly held healthcare companies in the nation, according to the study's methodology. The team found a sharp rise in shareholder payouts over the past 2 decades, surpassing aggregate net income for a handful of subsectors. Researchers suggested that policy makers encourage reinvestment in patient care and limit share buybacks based on the findings. Healthcare companies already face perennial criticism over allegations they focus on profits over patients, as the largest publicly traded healthcare companies have grown to bring in hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue and billions of dollars in profit each year. So there's more information for this. If you want to read the whole article, head on over to Healthcare Dive. But this is a very interesting read, and it's something that we've been talking about on this show a lot. All right. How about a little more happy news as we get ready for our first break? Joyce University expands nursing and healthcare education to students in Ohio and South Carolina. So those of you who are in Ohio and watching, pay attention. This might be good news for you. For Salt Lake City, aspiring nurses in Ohio and South Carolina can now prepare for RN licensure in as few as 20 months. Joyce University of Nursing and Health Sciences is broadening its hybrid pre- and post-licensure nursing programs to serve students in both states, furthering its mission to provide accessible, high-quality nursing education nationwide. Since 2022, Joyce University has steadily expanded beyond Utah, now serving students in 12 states, with Ohio and South Carolina as the latest additions in 2025. This continued growth underscores the university's commitment to meeting the increasing demand for skilled nurses by providing flexible, career-focused educational pathways. As part of our goal to expand access to health, high quality nursing education, Joyce is breaking down traditional barriers. This is from Dr. John Smith Copus, President and CEO of Joyce University. By building all program prerequisites within our curriculum and integrating dynamic online coursework with hands on skill development, we are creating accessible pathways for aspiring nurses at every stage of life while upholding the highest standards of education, safety, and patient care. With this expansion, students in Ohio and South Carolina can enroll in a range of nursing programs, including the 20-month Associate of Science in Nursing, ASN, the 3-year Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and the Accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing for career changers seeking a fast-track path into nursing. Joyce also offers 2 post-licensure programs for those looking to advance their nursing careers, the 4-semester online RN to BSN program, and the 3-semester MSN and leadership program. So that's the information from the press release from Joyce University, but I thought I'd share that. There's more information should you be interested. But considering that I have family in Ohio who might be interested in nursing, this might be a viable option for you and others. And so we do need good programs. So it'll be interesting to see what their pass rates are, success rate as far as passing the NCLEX, and what caliber of students they have, and how are they going to make sure the students have the clinical sites to complete their clinical. So those are all the questions that I have. But this might be a viable option for some. So go ahead and let's look into it. All right. Let's go ahead and take a brief break, and then we'll be right back with our next story. Baxter Professional Services Health Education. We offer BLS, CPR, and first aid training, basic TB validation skills lab, home health aid and CNA training courses, customized staff development including dementia care, fall prevention strategies, mastering communication skills, legal and ethical boundaries, clinical documentation, and more. For more information, call 765-387-8046 or check out our website at baxterprofessionalserviceshealtheducation.com. All right, here's our next story. This is from Nantucket Current. Chief nurse among layoffs at NCH as Mass General Brigham cuts hit Island Hospital. There we go. Nantucket Cottage Hospital's chief nursing officer and several other high-ranking staff members were among the hundreds of employees let go this week across Mass General Brigham, the sprawling healthcare giant that owns Nantucket Cottage Hospital and the largest private employer in Massachusetts. The layoffs announced Monday by Mass General Brigham were the largest in the organization's history and were described as, quote, strategic reorganization necessary to stabilize the finances of the 12 hospital healthcare system. At Nantucket Cottage Hospital, which is the island's second largest employer behind the town, the layoffs included chief nursing Amy Carew Lyons, vice president for community medicine Cynthia Winston, as well as the hospital's communications manager and public information officer Jeff Coakley, according to multiple sources at NCH who spoke to the Current about the layoffs. Officials at NCH declined to comment and referred all inquiries to Mass General Brigham. Michael D. Morris, MGB's Senior Director of External Communications, declined to answer questions regarding the number of layoffs planned for NCH and their potential impact on patient care. Instead, he provided a statement from NGB President and CEO Ann Klablansky, who said the layoffs were focused on non-clinical and non-patient-facing roles and will be completed in March. Like healthcare systems everywhere, we're facing unrelenting pressure that threatens our ability to continue to provide the care, innovation, and service that define us. If we do not take the definitive action now to stabilize our financial health, we compromise our ability to continue to invest in our mission. This decision was reached by clinical, academic, and administrative leaders from across our system after thoughtfully considering the current healthcare landscape and our poor financial performance over the past several years. This reorganization will improve efficiency, simplify decision-making, and empower staff with more direct access to leadership. Importantly, it will allow us to continue with planned and future investments in support of our patients and our mission, and to improve the lives of our clinicians and researchers. So, if you want to hear more about this is going to be quite interesting. Um, this is more information. I just want to share this. It says the Globe, as the Globe previously reported, MGB reported a $45 million margin from its operations, as well as a $2 billion net margin on $20.6 billion in total revenue for 12 months, ending in September of 2024. So they are trying to save at least $200 million annually, or approximately 2% of its salary and benefits cost. So as of Tuesday evening, NCH still listed Carol, Lyons, and Winston among their senior executives on the hospital website. Several employees stated the loss of Carew Lyons would be mourned across the hospital, as she made a good impression and positive impact in her 3 years at NCH after uprooting her family to move to the island. She was really awesome, said one NCH employee. She didn't hang in her office. She was out with everybody and talked to the people. So we'll see what happens and what's going on further, but we'll keep an eye on this development. All right, here's a little bit of healthcare news that from USA Today that you should be aware of. Nevada dairy worker infected with new bird flu strain becomes state's first human case. A new variant of the bird flu has infected a dairy worker in Nevada, marking the state's first human case of H5N1 avian influenza. The worker was exposed to the strain after working with infected dairy cattle in Churchill County, the Central Nevada Health District confirmed Monday. The new genotype was first confirmed on January 31st in dairy cattle and is not the same strain that has triggered a nationwide egg shortage and price hikes in recent months. So I was just speaking with someone, and she was talking about not being aware of that we're having issues with the bird flu that's causing us to destroy animals so that it's not passed on, and how that's affecting our prices. But now it's affecting the cattle with a different strain. And so I like to bring this information to you so that you can be prepared and know this is partially why your costs are going up at the grocery store. The U.S. Department of Agriculture confirmed last week that the new variant had infected dairy herds in the state after previously only appearing in wild birds since late 2023 or early 2024. Up until last month, the B313 strain made up of all bird flu cases in dairy herds. So the D1.1 bird flu variant is a strain of the H5N1 avian influenza that was previously only reported in wild birds. So apparently it's gone from the birds now to the cattle, the variant, and now to humans. The variant has recently infected dairy cattle and humans, including the Nevada adult and a 13-year-old girl in Canada. The D1.1 strain poses a low health risk to the general public, though people regularly exposed to birds, poultry, or cows are at higher risk. The strain is common among the starlings that migrate through Nevada in the winter and might have carried the virus into the state, the Nevada Department of Agriculture shared on Facebook last March. So as of right now, there's only been one person who was unalive due to this bird flu strain, and that was a Louisiana patient who was older and critically ill or chronically ill. That was the only reported unaliving in the U.S. from the bird flu, and that was in Louisiana on January 6th. The adult, who health officials did not identify, was exposed to the virus from a backyard flock. They were over 65 and had underlying health conditions. The version of the virus that also hospitalized a 13-year-old girl who had a history of mild asthma. Since 2003, there have been 950 human cases of bird flu outside of the U.S., with 464 of them resulting in unaliving. So again, these are some of the things that are happening. So I wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. Check on over to USA Today for more information. If you're in Maui, this could be another piece of good news for you. It says proposed UH Maui College 4-year nursing program moves ahead in the state Senate. So if you're in Hawaii, pay close attention. And if you're in support of this bill, let your local state senator know. So it says striking nurses walked picket lines at Maui Memorial Medical Center on September 30th, 2024. We did cover that story as well. Short staffing of nurses was a major issue in that case. The labor dispute with the hospital operator Maui Health. A Senate bill now making its way through the state legislature would help address the nursing shortage by establishing a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in nursing at the University of Hawaii Maui College. A measure aimed at addressing the shortage of nurses on Maui by establishing a 4-year nursing BSN degree at the University of Hawaii Maui College has passed its second reading on the Senate floor. Now it's headed to the influential Ways and Means Committee for decision making and funding. According to a Committee on Higher Education report, the bill's appropriation has been changed to an unspecified amount. However, committee chair Donna Mercado Kim recommended the budgeting funding as follows. So, $100,000 for fiscal year 2025 to 2026, and $60,000 for fiscal year 2026 to 2027. $90,000 for fiscal year 2025 to 26, and $60,000 every year for the next 2 years for additional personnel. So the first was for courses for the students, course development. Second was for personnel, and then another $60,000 for 2025 to 2026 and 2026 to 2027 for supplies, equipment, simulation, laboratory upgrades, etc., and $250,000 for fiscal year 2026 for instructional costs associated with providing a 3rd year of nursing courses following the establishment of the program. The committee notes that support for the 4-year nursing program came from the University of Hawaii System, Office Hawaii Affairs, Hawaii Public Health Association, Hawaii Primary Care Association, Hawaii State Center for Nursing, Healthcare Association of Hawaii, and 6 individuals. Nursing student Cheryl Kayani, a native Hawaiian with multiple generations of my family residing on Maui, said she was deeply impacted by the August 2023 wildfires and has seen firsthand the immense importance of supporting our community through education, healthcare, and local opportunities. So we'll just keep abreast of what's happening with that bill and see what happens for Hawaii. Okay. Other healthcare legislative news. This is from the Maryland Matters, and it says, Senate panel reviews bill to require video cameras in nursing homes, assisted living facilities. After he fell and fractured his, and it says hop here, but I'm assuming they mean hip, in May of 2022, 75-year-old dementia patient Ellsworth Johnson Bay was treated at a local hospital before being returned to an acute care center where the fall occurred. Johnson Bay never left his bed again. He eventually contracted pneumonia, developed blood clots in his lungs, and was later diagnosed with COVID-19, where he passed at a local hospital on September 5th, 2022. It was only because a video camera inside the nursing home captured geriatric nursing assistant Obia Jericho, shoving Johnson Bay before that May fall, that prosecutors were able to arrest and convict him, then 36, for first-degree assault and vulnerable adult abuse. The case represents one of the many reasons why Attorney General Anthony Brown, Democrat, wants the legislature to make it a state requirement to have video cameras installed at nursing homes and assisted living facilities. Video evidence has been crucial in securing justice for victims of abuse, Brown said in testimony Tuesday before the Senate Finance Committee. Opponents have raised concerns about the cost of video recording equipment and data storage, but the cost of inaction is far greater in the terms of harms to victims. The cost of complying with Senate Bill 465 is a real concern, said Allison Sabrowski, president and CEO of Leading Edge Maryland, which is comprised of more than 150 nonprofit aging service organizations. She yet said the estimated cost of purchase and install equipment ranges from $50,000 to $200,000, while annual maintenance and storage costs would be $40,000 to $80,000. These costs would be particularly burdensome for smaller rural communities that are already operating on thin budgets. The bill requested by Brown would require video equipment be installed in common areas, such as meeting and living rooms, entrances, or hallways of nursing homes. Video would have to be maintained for at least 120 days, and video capture would have to be continuous and without interruption. Video could not be taken in private places such as bedrooms, bathrooms, or a place where a resident receives medical care. The videos would be policed by the Health Department's Office of Healthcare Quality, but a fiscal note with the bill said that the office needs another $729,000 in fiscal year 2026 to hire 8 healthcare facility surveyors to do its job. The figure would rise to $977,000 in another 4 years. No one from that department testified on the bill. But Senator Benjamin F. Kramer, Democrat from Montgomery, said the Health Care Quality Office has totally failed the most vulnerable in our nursing homes for lack of inspection at nursing homes and assisted living facilities. He asked Brown if the money needed for Health Care Quality Office might not be better spent in the Attorney General's office. So they said, we always welcome more resources. However, in this case, the answer is no, because that's not our authority, Brown said. So we'll see what happens and keep an eye on this bill. But I'm going to ask, what do you think? And I personally think that having those in those common areas not only may deter staff to resident violence, but maybe it also could deter resident to resident violence and maybe resident to staff violence as well. So we'll see. I do know that it has been very helpful in some legal cases to have video evidence of what occurred or didn't occur. And in more news before we take another brief break, this is from Knight's Long-Term Care News. State suspends 4 nursing homes for Medicaid program and anti-fraud campaign. The owners of 4 New Jersey skilled nursing facilities have been barred from participating in the state's Medicaid program, a snowballed consequence of the state's controllers' continued focus on uncovering and punishing Medicaid fraud. Kevin Breslin and the 6 other owners of Little Falls, New Jersey-based KBWB operations, doing business as Atrium Health and Senior Living, were notified by the Office of State Controllers Thursday that they and 4 facilities they own have been disqualified from receiving state Medicaid funds. They are also prohibited from servicing Medicaid beneficiaries effective May 7, 2025, according to the press release. The controller's decision came after Breslin pleaded guilty to federal healthcare fraud and tax conspiracy charges on December 17, 2024, in relation to the complex scheme in which the government said investors were paid, but staff and vendors were not. In 2023, Breslin and KBWB Atrium were charged on 12 counts after prosecutors described a nearly 4-year scheme that left residents in 23 Wisconsin SNFs without needed supplies. Working from corporate offices in New Jersey, the government said KBWB Atrium used Medicare and Medicaid proceeds to make distributions and guaranteeing payments to KBWB Atrium's owners, regardless of the company's or facilities' financial situations. The Breslin-owned facilities that have been suspended from New Jersey's Medicaid program include Avalon Rehab and Care Center and Atrium Post-Acute Care in Wayne, New Jersey, as well as Atrium Senior Living and Atrium Post-Acute Care in Park Ridge, New Jersey. The OSC said, however, that KBWB Atrium could maintain its Medicaid eligibility if the owners, quote, divest ownership or the facilities are placed under the control of a receiver or other independent party so that the suspended individuals have no access or authority over the Medicaid funds. So there's more into this story. If you want to read it, head on over to McKnight's Long-Term Care News. But again, keep an eye on these developments as they occur. All right, let's take another brief break. Coming up, my mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. I specialize in working with nurses and other health professionals who want to reduce burnout, pessimism, and compassion fatigue, so you can become a successful entrepreneur to reclaim the love you have for your profession and to create a fulfilling and prosperous life. Join the Nurse Shark Academy at thenurssharkacademy.biz and come feel the sun, providing a clear path for business success. All right, let's get to our next story here. And like I said, there's been a lot of news to cover today. All right. This study provides a snapshot of substantial mental health burden on nurses. A first of its kind study provides a snapshot of the substantial mental health burden on nurses around the world. Published in the journal International Nursing Review, the research documents the impact of 3 years of intense working conditions brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Stress and burnout among nurses working during the COVID-19 pandemic are well documented, but most studies come from high-income countries. To address the gap in knowledge from other countries around the world, Squires founded the Global Consortium of Nursing and Midwifery Studies. The international research collaboration, which now includes nurses and other health professionals from 82 countries, is examining the long-term effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the nursing workforce. In the current study, the researchers surveyed 9,387 nurses from 35 countries between July 2022 and October 2023. They were asked about their mental health and other related factors, including loss, burnout, experiencing aggression from the public, access to mental health services, and self-care practices. The researchers found widespread mental health challenges among nurses working during the pandemic, with rates of anxiety and depression ranging from 23% to 61%. Nurses consistently experience more mental health symptoms at work compared to at home. The most common work-related issues were feeling tired, 57%, anxiety, 44%, and feeling overwhelmed, 41%. Rates of mental health issues varied widely among countries, likely reflecting cultural factors associated with psychological stressors or stigma related to mental illness. For instance, 69.9% of nurses in Brazil reported workplace-related anxiety compared to 23.8% in Indonesia, while 80.9% of nurses in Turkey reported feeling overwhelmed at work compared to 6.7% in Thailand. Loss and public aggression were also identified as challenges to nurses' mental health. Notably, 20% of nurses suffered the loss of a family member, 35% the loss of a friend, and 34% a co-worker to COVID-19. The staggering personal losses of friends, family, and co-workers and their effects on nurses' mental health should not be underestimated, Squires and her co-authors write. In addition, nearly half, or 48% of nurses surveyed, reported experiencing violence and aggression from the public due to their identity as a nurse, quote, an extremely concerning finding and ongoing health worker safety issue. Only 24% of nurses reported that their employers provided adequate mental health services, leaving many without support or relying on self-care strategies. Most nurses reported more frequently engaging in self-care, including exercise, spiritual practices, and leaning on family and other relationships compared with before the pandemic. The increased engagement in self-care practices suggests that nurses, given the intensity of the pandemic's working conditions, may have turned to these activities to cope with adverse mental health symptoms experienced at work. However, promoting self-care will not address the scope of the problem we've identified. We need to develop targeted and accessible mental health support in order to foster a resilient nursing workforce. So if you want to read more about that, you can head on over to the journal. The journal reference is from the International Nursing Review. You can head on over there for more information about that. Okay. All right, we have a couple more stories before we get into our nurse making a difference and then our announcements. So it says this story come from KQED. Why are more than 200 beds empty at this San Francisco nursing home? As one of the city's remaining nursing homes prepares to close in April, nearly 250 beds are currently sitting empty in San Francisco's largest public skilled nursing facility, following a multi-year scandal that nearly shuttered the more than 150-year-old facility. Laguna Honda Hospital and Rehabilitation Center resumed admitting new patients July after 2 years of internal reforms and working with federal officials to make good on past infractions. Now the beleaguered nursing home is back open for new residents. However, admissions are off to a slow pace as Laguna Honda remains under the microscope of state and federal regulators despite a growing need for skilled nursing care in San Francisco and across the region. Tony Chicotel, who is the attorney for the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform, states, "It is a well-known fact that there is a dearth of nursing home beds in San Francisco. It's jarring that the facility is allowed to admit residents now and still have so many open beds when we hear from people all the time in the Bay Area that there's no nursing home space for people to go to." Nursing home experts say San Francisco has a large population of low-income seniors who need round-the-clock care in their community, and many people have to move out of the county away from loved ones due to the region's scant affordable nursing home options. The need is about to get compounded as dozens of elderly residents at St. Anne's Home on Lake Street near the Presidio will need to find new housing before the facility closes on April 8th due to staffing shortages. Laguna Honda is working with St. Anne's to bring over residents who are about to lose their homes and has offered beds to past residents who are discharged from Laguna Honda's recertification process. Mayor Daniel Lurie said at a recent Board of Supervisors meeting, "I know this is a challenging time and you have my commitment that the city will support you in this transition. We must have a broader strategy for seniors to live safely and actively engage in their community." There are currently 435 residents at Laguna Honda compared with the hospital's licensed bed capacity of 649. The hospital previously had a capacity for nearly 800 residents. However, federal regulation changes after the pandemic required rooms to have no more than 3 residents, stripping the hospital of 120 beds. Officials at Laguna Honda said they are trying to recertify the 120 beds to bring capacity back up. Laguna Honda has welcomed a total of 78 new residents out of the 179 referrals since resuming admissions on July 31st, 2024. The majority of denials were due to patients deemed to have, quote, behavioral health needs too complex for a nursing home, including the substance use or mental health disorders. Others were due to being, quote, too medically complex and for needing lower levels of care than residential skilled nursing. However, Laguna Honda officials say they are actively welcoming new residents and that there's no wait list for those who meet its criteria, with the goal to fill the remaining beds by December of 2025. So we'll keep an eye on those developments as well for those of you that are living in San Francisco. This last story from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. UW Health nurses take their case for forming a union to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Oral arguments made Wednesday before the Wisconsin Supreme Court were the latest development in the years-long effort by UW Health nurses to again have a union after theirs was dismantled following a union-busting law passed more than a decade ago. The case, ACIU Healthcare Wisconsin versus Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission, stems from a November 2022 ruling issued by the commission that found UW Health Hospital is not required by law to negotiate a collective bargaining contract or recognize a nurse union that formed months prior. The commission, which oversees labor relations in Wisconsin, ruled a provision of Act 10, which eliminated most collective bargaining rights for public employees unions in 2011, specifically eliminated University Hospitals and Clinics Authority, which oversees UW Health, from coverage under the Wisconsin Peace Act. The Wisconsin Peace Act provides guidelines for private sector labor relations. In argument for the Wisconsin Supreme Court on Wednesday, attorney Tamara Packard maintained the hospital functions like a private employer and therefore should be governed by the Wisconsin Peace Act. It is a multi-state entity with clinics and hospitals and employees in Illinois. The whole point of creating the authority was to make them able to compete with private entities. This is a private entity for all intents and purposes. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. James Goldsmith, an attorney with UW Hospital and Clinics Authority, argued that the legislative intent was clear when passing Act 10. Everyone, including the hundreds of thousands of people who protested at the Capitol, understood it was designed to dismantle unions. He further argued that despite the fact that UW hospitals and clinic authorities were created in the mid-1990s as a quasi-government entity, lawmakers in passing Act 10 made it clear it was included and considered a public entity. There is an element of all of this that I must confess feels a little bit like the emperor's new clothes. Everyone has a firm grasp on reality until a new tailor comes to town and says, I'm going to make your garment that only the most sophisticated people can see. Now we're presented with this interpretation of what happened in Act that everyone knows is not what happened. Colin Gillis, an inpatient registered nurse and SEIU Healthcare Wisconsin member, has advocated for several years for the advancement of union rights. I am still optimistic that the court will do the right and will get an election and full collective bargaining rights under Wisconsin Employment Peace Act, which is where we belong. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021, nurses told the Madison-based hospital began questioning the legality of Act 10's reach. They argued that UW nurses have not been public employees since the University of Wisconsin Hospitals and Clinics Authority, which includes UW Health, was created in 1995. The nurses argued UW Health is a quasi-government entity that receives state funding but owns other profit-driving hospitals in Illinois, did not qualify as a public entity. And Act 10 only applies to public employee unions. UW, in contrast, argued that nurses are public employees, and the passage of Act 10 made collective bargaining a statutory right, not a constitutional right. In August of 2022, hundreds of nurses with UW voted to hold a 3-day strike in September if hospital administrators did not recognize their union. That vote set the clock ticking for UW Health board and administrators to meet with nurses and to agree again to negotiate with their union. Democratic Governor Tony Evers summoned both sides to the governor's mansion, hashing out a compromise that kept the nurses working, averted a strike, and reached an agreement that both sides would seek out an opinion from the Wisconsin Employee Relations Commission on whether the hospital could voluntarily recognize a union. So we'll see what happens and keep you abreast on that if you're in Wisconsin. Let me know if you know any more about what's happening there. I'm quite curious to see what's going on. All right, we have 2 additional stories here. Let's see if I can get the first one up. Yes. So this was brought to my attention, and I thought I'd just share this here. This is from WLWT5, and it says, Miami University nursing students credited for saving the life of instructor during finals week. And so these are one of our nurses in the making a difference. I like that pun there. There we go. All right. So 2 Miami University students, and this is from Ohio, Miami, Ohio, just to clarify, are being credited for helping to save the life of a faculty member who collapsed during finals week. According to the university, it happened on December 11th during the finals week before students left for winter break to an adjunct faculty member. The school says the junior Reed Stewart and sophomore Braden Osborne, who reportedly did not know each other before the medical emergency, took turns performing CPR, and the instructor of mathematical and physical sciences outside the Mosler Hall on the Hamilton campus. Miami did not identify the faculty member in the story on their website. A native of Loveland, Stewart said the university says the instructor emailed him, quote, thanking me for what I had done, and said because of me, his family was able to have Christmas with him this year. The school says the incident happened as the instructor and some of his students were about to enter the Mosler Hall for an exam. After the man collapsed, the school said Stewart jumped into action performing CPR. After seeing it happen, Osborne told the university he felt compelled to help and offered assistance with chest compressions before the arrival of paramedics. It's a very scary thing that day, seeing my professor so blue in the face, relying on his students to save his life, said Osborne. For who, by the way, is from Indiana. He's a Brookville, Indiana native. Stewart said told the university that it was the most indescribable yet fulfilling feeling he's ever felt. It puts a smile on my face to this day to think whenever I think about it. So congratulations to those two students. This is why learning CPR saves a life. And we'll talk about that. You get your chance to learn CPR coming up in our announcements. And so our last story of a nurse making a difference. Okay, I just thought this was quite interesting, so I wanted to share this. And it says, PNW nursing faculty member earns prestigious AAMP national recognition. This is from Purdue University Northwest, so I thought, hey, it's right here in our home state. Let's talk about it. So, Purdue University Northwest Associate Professor of Nursing Julia Rogers was awarded the American Association of Nurse Practitioners 2025 Award for Outstanding Contribution for the state of Indiana. The AAMP State Award for Outstanding Contributions recognizes nurse practitioners who demonstrate exceptional impact on advancing the NP profession at the state level. Nominees must excel in at least 4 key areas, including professional leadership, educational advancement, research contributions, and community impact. Selection criteria emphasize the nominee's proven track record in fostering healthcare innovation through evidence-based practice, mentorship, strategic partnerships, and advocacy efforts. Selected honorees embody excellence in both clinical practice and professional leadership while demonstrating measurable contributions to improving healthcare outcomes and advancing the NP profession through education, research, or policy initiatives. Honorees are also distinguished by their efforts to advance the image, profile, and visibility of nurse practitioners. AAMP annually presents its state awards to one nursing profession in each state in the U.S. and the District of Columbia. So I want to tell you a little bit about Dr. Rogers. She says the recognition for the AAMP is both humbling and energizing. As a nurse practitioner, continue to play an increasingly vital role in healthcare delivery. It is crucial that we embrace innovative educational approaches and technology to prepare the next generation of NPs. Being an associate professor and maintaining an active clinical practice allows me to elevate both NP education and patient care outcomes. My goal is to provide students with a deeper understanding and better retention of complex concepts so they're able to deliver excellent care to patients and their families. This award reinforces the importance of pushing boundaries in NP education and practice while maintaining our profession's core commitment to patient care and evidence-based practice. So, just a little bit about her and her contributions. Rogers is specifically recognized by the AAMP in the core pillars of practice, education, advocacy, research, or leadership, or PEARL. Rogers exemplifies excellence through her transformative dual role as Doctor of Nursing Practice Program Coordinator and Pulmonary Critical Care Nurse Practitioner, where she bridges academic innovation with clinical excellence while mentoring the next generation NPs. Her contributions span from pioneering evidence-based research and 3D visualization tools in pathophysiology to developing and hosting the NP Power Pearls of Wisdom video podcast series that advances professional development and clinical practice guidelines for over 75,000 nurse practitioners nationwide. In 2022, Rogers was named as AAMP Fellow, the first PNW nursing faculty member to receive the honor. Rogers Scholarship focuses on advanced pathophysiology. Among her teaching initiatives, she leverages augmented and visual reality 3D visualization learning tools to teach PNW nursing students, which her research has shown helps them better retain information. She's also the author of the ninth edition of McCants and Heather's Pathophysiology, the Biological Basis for Disease in Adults and Children, and the first edition of the 3Ps for Advanced Healthcare Providers, Pathophysiology, Physical Assessment, and Pharmacology. So congratulations to her and Purdue University Northwest on being our nurse making a difference. This ends all of our news for today. Let's move on to our announcements. So our first announcement coming up for today, this coming Saturday, we will be working on our podcast. So be on the lookout for our next podcast episode to come out on Monday morning. I'm very excited. So if you know a nurse, and again, this is our podcast, the Nurse Shark Academy show, you know a nurse that's in business or an innovator or leader, let me know because I'd love to highlight them on the show. All right. And coming up on February the 19th, we do have our basic TB validation course. So that course is available. And by the way, those of you who have had your TB validation for the last 6 months, and also that you are a nurse or a doctor or someone with a 4-year healthcare related degree, and you want to become a TB instructor, we are able to offer that to you right now. So if you are looking to do that, get a hold of me as soon as possible. We'll get you in for a class. All right. And then also on Saturday, February 22nd, we do have our CPR renewal class for those of you who let your CPR lapse, or maybe you're a nursing student and you're getting ready to start your clinicals. Make sure you get in and get your CPR renewed. So that is Saturday, February the 22nd. And then we also have coming up on February the 20th, we are hosting our lineup event, Savor the Connections. We'll be at Thai Divine in Anderson, Indiana. So those of you that are around, you want to join us at Thai Divine, that is going on as well. And that leads us to our announcements. Oh, another really big announcement before I forget. We do have an event coming up, the Nurse Shark Academy. And let me go ahead and pull that up because for some reason it's not on my calendar, which is, I find that strange. But that's why I'm glad I've got it here. Yes, on Thursday, February the 27th, we do have our virtual workshop, Podcast Power, how to get booked on podcasts. There's a lot of nurses that are out there that are thinking about becoming a podcaster and having a podcast. And so I want you to have this opportunity to learn about being a good podcast guest and what does that mean and how do you do that. So that's coming up. Get registered for that on the NurseSharkAcademy.biz. That's Thursday, February the 27th. And that begins at 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. So join us for that event as well. All right. Well, that's it for me. And I will see you next time. And thanks for tuning in. And don't forget our other show, the Nurse Shark Academy show. And then those of you who are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And those who are watching us on Facebook, please like and share this content. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll see you next week.